Alright, so I figured it was about time to make another Bitcoin update. It's been about a week since I posted a video, and there's a few reasons I haven't been making a lot of videos recently. Number one, I've been very busy. A lot of the time that I've spent at the charts has been for my personal learning, my personal growth, learning and practicing strategies that I don't use for my YouTube because I can't. And for the past few months, I've kind of been focusing on higher time frame stuff anyway, and, in terms of higher time frame developments, there hasn't really been much since my last video, which was on the 31st, so right around here. We've basically just been range trading. And, I like range trading. I like it when Bitcoin moves sideways. There's usually a lot of good trading opportunities within ranges. So I don't mind price doing this, but, it's hard for me to make the kind of videos that I'm making right now when not much is happening on the higher time frames because I don't want to kind of make watered down content, saying the same thing over and over again, and I also don't want to really push my boundaries with the type of videos I'm making right now. That's something that I'm going to get back to later. It's something I've done in the past. I've kind of got creative with the types of videos I make, how I incorporate my trading into my videos and all that. And that is something that will return. And this is something I've talked about in my videos a lot, but my main focus right now is on becoming a better trader. And once I feel like I don't need to put as much focus on learning and improving, then I can start to put more focus on improving my content, improving my video making, and getting creative with it again. But I think now is a good time to make another video. We actually just got a pretty interesting development here. We took out the high of this local range, and I believe we are approaching some key resistance. So, yeah, I'm going to basically run through my analysis again, see how things have developed. I'll take a look at Market Cipher, see how that's developing. Let's talk about the levels first, since I think price might have just hit one. So, in my last video, I'll pull this fixed range over to where we were at the time. I was looking at this zone in between the point of control and the value area high as being a significant zone of resistance because, if we get above this zone, I don't think there is too much to stop price from getting a significant move to the upside. There are some resistance levels there, of course. There are some fib levels, but in terms of price action, it was a very aggressive move down. And, there's a bunch of lower highs here, a lot of liquidity potentially stacked up in that area, and then there's just a large inefficiency here. So to me, I think this zone around the value area high point of control is a very key zone. And, if we get above that and we get above that aggressively, like if we start getting above this golden pocket, let's say, I think there's a good chance that maybe we're just going to come up to this high over here. It doesn't seem like there's much to stop price from doing that. Now, if we adjust this fixed range over to current price, it does change a little bit. So the point of control changes. The point of control dropped down as we've been ranging in this area. I guess we, built up a lot of volume at this point, and price has basically been hugging the point of control for the past week or so. And looks like we didn't exactly hit the value area high. That's not really the most important thing. I'm actually more concerned with how price reacts to taking out the high of this range. I think if price starts to SFP the high of the range, and even if we did front run the value area high, there's a chance that we could get a rotation from that just based off of like range rules. So I'm not super concerned with us front running the value area high. Potentially it could mean that if we get a little retracement here, that we have to come back up one more time and maybe actually hit the value area high. And I'll talk more about Market Cipher in a little bit, but it seems like we have some divergences forming as we are taking out the high of this range. So, immediately that's what I'm looking at. I'm kind of looking at how price is going to react after taking out this range high. I think it's interesting that for the past week, price has been in this range, and it's kind of been avoiding the significant levels above and below it. So below the range, we still have this untapped weekly level, and if I go to the weekly time frame, I am looking at this weekly open and the fact that we had a weekly close and then a weekly open, and then price aggressively moved away from that point after the weekly candle opened, and then since then we have not come back down to retest this level. This is known as an untapped weekly level. It's a technique I learned from Jason Casper, and yeah, I think it's interesting that price is right now ranging in between the value area high and this level. In terms of local trades, I am looking at the context of this range right now, and potentially we may have a liquidity grab of the high of the range, and we'll see if that may cause a rotation. And if it does, and if we continue trading within this range, then I would still be looking at the possibility of SFPing the low of the range into the untapped weekly. So that's pretty much my local trading plans right now. Um, I'm also looking at this in terms of the value area. So, the value area low is a little bit below this untapped weekly. That could change. Like if we continue ranging here for a bit longer and then we come down to touch it, maybe by then the value area low moves up. And again, for a quick recap of my higher time frame analysis, I overall think that there's a better likelihood of this range breaking to the downside than to the upside. That doesn't mean that price can't come up to touch the high again. I think if we get above the value area high, then that becomes a lot more likely. And I mean, we'll have to see what happens up there, but I am, thinking that there's a decent chance we get an SFP of that high, considering how the daily time frame would look if we did get another move up to that high. There's a very good chance that we will see some serious continuation of these bearish divs that we've gotten with momentum and money flow. And ultimately, I think it makes sense for price to top out around this area. But again, I'm not discounting the idea of us potentially breaking this massive range to the upside. If price begins closing significantly above this range, then hey, potentially we see higher. But again, I do think it makes more sense to break this range to the downside. And I'll start with the market cipher analysis here. But I think the daily time frame could be playing in nicely to the idea of this just being a lower high because of the basically downward direction that we're seeing, and now the trigger wave that is potentially forming. Just another lower high in momentum as money flow is now significantly lower than it was. That's kind of been how I've been viewing this daily time frame is, once we printed this bottom wave here, I was thinking maybe we come up and print a trigger wave and then actually break the range to the downside. It seems like that is still very possible. We are right now forming a bit of a trigger wave. Now, a bit more locally, you can see that things are getting a turn to the upside. The daily money flow actually dipped into the red there for a little bit, but now it's turning back to the upside. Momentum is getting a little spike up. But things have to come a long way to really start voiding these bearish divergences that we're seeing. Even if momentum takes out this local wave, for example, and money flow gets a massive move to the upside, like what are the chances money flow is gonna get all the way up here and cancel out the bearishness that we're seeing from that? I think even if it gets a little spike to the upside, there's a good chance that if this happens, if momentum gets this aggressive of a move to the upside, at that point, we're probably getting a move up to this high. And at that point, I mean, we're probably still seeing divergences with momentum and with money flow overall, even if things get a little turned to the upside and, they don't end up looking as bearish as they do right now, but they still look pretty bearish. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. I can't really see this daily time frame turning around without, getting a serious kind of reset in terms of money flow and in terms of momentum. You usually have to see those things come down a lot before they can really start building to the upside again. And really quickly, I'll bring up the weekly time frame again because, there is a chance that this could kind of make the daily time frame irrelevant. We print a green dot here, momentum starts turning to the upside, money flow continues putting in higher highs. Maybe at that point the daily time frame doesn't matter. But here's the thing, I think that's unlikely just given how the daily time frame looks. I like to look at market cipher as a whole, and the fact that the daily time frame looks like continuation to the upside is very unlikely makes me think that even if it looks like there's a chance of that on the weekly, I am not really believing it quite yet. Because I mean, there's a chance that even if we do print a green dot here, momentum comes up a little bit, maybe we still form bearish divs after taking out this high. Also, typically when I'm looking at developments on the weekly time frame, I want the daily to back that up. And the daily is actually contradicting the idea of getting continuation to the upside. So, I personally think it's unlikely, but it is a scenario that we have to consider. All right, now talking about the local market cipher developments here. So it looks like we have potential for bearish divs here for sure. Definitely in terms of money flow, momentum's getting a little close to voiding the divergences, and it doesn't look like it's ready to top out quite yet. VWAP is still pointing up. The white part of this momentum wave is still getting wider. So I'm not really focused that much on the momentum wave anyway. I'm more so looking at the money flow coming out. And of course, it's better if momentum is diverging as well, and we can check lower time frames to see if it is there. But yeah, overall, I'm seeing price taking out the high of this local range into a key area, the value area high, and we are seeing a pretty strong money flow div. So now checking the 3-hour, we see the same thing. I mean, money flow is a lot lower, but it right now is potentially curving around to the upside in the red. So, that's something that we have to consider. Hey, maybe this causes the 4-hour money flow to actually continue to the upside. And, is that enough to potentially void these divergences? It could be. And, I guess the, real telltale sign for that would be, is price going to SFP this high, or is it going to actually break out of this range? If it breaks out of the range, we'll probably see the money flow continue to grow. But as of right now, it looks like if price rejects from here and ends up SFPing this high, I don't think we're going to void those money flow divs on the 4-hour before that happens. So, yeah, basically, I mean, we'll have to see what happens. But as of right now, we definitely have divergences. And also with momentum on the 3-hour, similar situation, VWAP's pointing up, momentum is still coming to the upside, but as of right now, it's still lower than these waves back here, and this one is pretty high up there, so it'd be tough to void this divergence unless price is really going to break out, because then we could see momentum really continue to the upside. So 2-hour, very similar story. We see the momentum divs, we see the money flow divs. The money flow is clearly putting in lower highs. The one thing that kind of throwing this off is we're putting in a local higher high, but overall for the main humps of this money flow, we are putting in what appears to be lower highs right now. And a very similar thing on the 1-hour, except the 1-hour money flow is kind of starting to approach these levels. Like, number one, taking out this high would make this look like less of a strong divergence. And then if we're able to get above this high over here, then we completely void them. So the 1-hour is a little closer to voiding those divergences, but you do still see that overall direction. So again, I think it really comes down to, are we going to SFP this high, or are we going to continue to the upside from here? So I will be watching this price action very closely, and depending on what I see as price starts to fall back down here, this could be the beginning of another range rotation. So the 30-minute actually has some local money flow divs from back here. Money flow has been coming out this whole time as price just got this push to the upside. So we see some local divergences. That's, a bit of extra confluence. I like to see that. Let's check the 15. We do not have divergences on this 15. I wouldn't really call that a momentum div. It's too close, even if it is. And money flow is, avoiding those local divergences. Like, there really wasn't even a chance. Money flow came up very aggressively here. So this is kind of contradicting that idea, but I mean, overall, we're seeing divergences on the 30-minute through the 4-hour as of right now, at least. All right, so that's basically my analysis. There's not much else to go over. I went over the levels I'm watching. We're at one right now. Another one would be the low end of this range. And, there's probably other valid trade setups within this range. This is a week-long range. And, if we start to come back within this range, then there's a pretty good chance we will continue trading in this range for a bit longer. So right now, this is my trading context. And, I think the best trade setups are going to be on the extreme ends of those. All right, well, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All that helps to support my channel. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next video.